those a couple of different times now this summer.
I've been
That's
getting
super cool.
I've been getting into disc golf quite a bit with my older son. Also got me into it, so it's been really nice. There's a lot of courses around Grand Rapids, so
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to plan a pretty long trip down the Asaba River and getting rained out, so that was sad. That was all right.
Asabo River, where does that begin? Here in Ann Arbor?
Grayling?
Ah,
Yeah, so if you are into kayaking, I definitely recommend doing that river at some point. There's a cool outfit that helped out and picks you up, drops you
wow.
off safe.
And how far do you go?
It could be up to a 7-day trip. I only went for an afternoon.
Ooh. Wow.
That's crazy. That sounds insane.
Is it possible to do the entire Mississippi in a small kayak, or do you run into commercial vehicles crowding you out, or
I'm not sure.
is that a
I
thing?
mean, I know you can do it,
that?
but it's also super dangerous. The waters are really fast in certain areas, even though it's slow in others. It'll kill you for sure.
Really?
But people do it.
Wow.
Yeah, my fiance and her friends just went down the Rifle River, just 2 hours north of Ann Arbor, and I can't remember the county it's in, but they had a blast. But the water level was low, so they kept hitting every rock bump and down tree they could.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right now. It looks like the water level in some place might be a bit low or crowded or just not very good for traversal. I'll post an image right here. Like I don't know if I would want to kayak through some of that.
Oh geez, yeah.
Ew,
real
oh no. Oh no, you've also got look at this. That's gonna put a ding in the bottom, I think.
Yeah, that's a get out and carry
I
it
have to buff that one out.
Gosh.
That looks like a Valheim server game.
Yeah.
Imagine being a traveling game dev.
I wonder if the Valheim. Oh, sorry.
You've got your van, you've got Starlink on top of your van, so you've always got 100 megabits per second down. What are you doing? You got maybe a generator and a Tesla solar panel on top as well. Okay, what else do you need? Apparently, you can park in live places overnight for free at Walmarts because they are 24 hours. That's pretty neat.
Austin's new retirement plan.
Basically.
Retirement plan. What's that for?
yeah.
Retirement is when you get to stop doing everything else and just 100% make games. They don't even have to sell very well, and you're still fine. That's retirement.
That sounds like the life. I think I'll probably follow after a few of my mentors and retire to teaching, which I don't know if that's necessarily much more of a retirement at this point.
Retire to teaching?
Yes.
As in the thing you're already doing?
Yeah, but like more.
More teaching. Yes.
Gosh.
I don't know. I feel like that's the thing I'm gonna want to leave behind.
Oh, really? I feel like I'm too social to leave that behind.
I'm not. I'm too social to stick with it. Corey, you taught at Ferris for a while, didn't you?
Yep.
That's awesome. Why did you depart that program?
I think the big thing is we, at the time, felt like there was a lot of students that were nearby that were super talented, but not getting jobs. And I actually hit on this a little bit in the presentation, but talking about we started a studio to basically get people experience.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of the whole vision of where we went with that. So yeah, it was kind of sad. There wasn't at the time, especially a whole lot in Michigan and Grand Rapids. So we worked on quite a bit of large scale projects and that kind of thing. So ended up with students at Riot and at visual effects studios and all kinds of stuff. So it was pretty cool.
That is
Awesome. Corbin, do you have any music lined up?
I do. I think it's playing right now. I don't know if they can hear it though.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear it. You might need to share the window and not your screen.
Oh, like in the Discord?
Yeah, come on.
Oh,
I hear
yeah,
it.
yeah. I got you. Pop this tab out of my millions of tabs for the day. I just got some lo-fi.
Video game themed lo-fi?
This one is not. This one is open source and legally allowed to be used on Twitch. DMCA free for YouTube.
Excellent. Very cool. Is this all open source music? Is that all they play?
So now, yes. For the longest time they
Wow.
weren't, but then they did switch over. This one and a few others switched over to open source music.
Okay, so does anyone know if this series of tracks loops at all? Or is this constantly new stuff?
I am not sure.
I'm curious, what is the time investment and effort of curating something like this?
Well, it looks like they have a Spotify.
Also, when is that girl going to finish her homework?
So it looks like it's 300 tracks, and new ones get added each day, it looks like. Oh no, these were all added a day ago, it says. So maybe each day is a
Wow.
whole new set of tracks? If that's the case, that's insane.
Yeah, that's some serious effort.
It is. It's impressive.
It's definitely not the same, or it is often the same because I often watch or listen to this while I do stuff.
You hear repeats?
It does eventually, yeah.
Hmm.
Or it'll be, I guess maybe it's not a repeat if like they mix it a different way.
Ah.
But it's the same riff. I still love it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm still disappointed though. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll probably give it until about 7:05. Let everyone show up. At the University of Michigan, it was called Michigan time. The fact that pretty much no matter what, a bunch of people are going to arrive a little bit late. So as a result, anything official starts about 5 to 10 minutes late. The administration put a lot of effort in to kill Michigan time. Now, we're going to be there on time. We are going to be very, punctual. So Michigan time died, but long live Michigan time. Very few people, many people still show up about 10 minutes late. So we figure they're just working on homework and, being responsibly late.
Of course. Good crowd inside Discord today.
Yes. In just a little bit, we will start the community announcements. So if anyone has anything to announce, any recently released games, anything like that, any hiring roles, then you'll have an opportunity to do that. Nice.
I see a lot of people talking about, you know, specific class times and things like that. I wish I
Oh,
knew
yeah.
that life. I have my entire master's degree is online, so I do it whenever I want. I was up at 2 a.m. last night finishing some assignments too at 3 a.m. our time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
Oof.
Time management. But,
I'm currently, so I am not a 3D modeler at all, and have very little experience in kind of 3D general operations. And so I've been trying to rig up a character for Gmod. Has anyone played Gary's Mod?
yeah.
Right, has been around. That game has been around forever. It is it's kind of like a more adult Roblox. It is everything goes, and it's very, very weird, very memey, a ton of fun. So I've been braving the Blender hotkeys, trying to commit them to memory. It has been rough.
That's awesome. That's fun though. I spent a little bit of time reworking some lecture content, and one of the ones that I've been testing is I threw together a lecture on like the value of concept art and like how undervalued it is in a lot of indie studios and the process that goes into it, and why a lot of student modelers, when they come out into the world, they want to be creative and make their own things, and sometimes they deviate really hard or don't use concept art for their portfolio pieces. And for us, when we were hiring art interns, that was such a huge essential piece, is can you make something from concept? Because we spend thousands of dollars on concept and hundreds of hours over the course of a project. And so I wrote up a like 6 or 7 step process with descriptions, and I showed off the concept art for one of our newer unannounced projects that we're currently in the pre-production for. And I was like, if we had an artist who came on to join us and make these environments and they didn't make it true to the concept, it would just be such a waste of everybody's time over these last couple of months. And it'd be so hard to keep an artistic vision across a project if you don't.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting news that your mic is a little bit quiet.
Okay.
So if you can control how quiet your mic is, you might want to bump it up a little bit. Thank you, Jeremy.
So quiet in the Discord or quiet in the live stream?
I believe Discord? I haven't even checked the live stream. I'll
Quiet
have to...
in Discord. Okay. Let me bump that. Let's see if this helps. If you find that it's really difficult to hear me through Discord, you can also right-click on my name in Discord and bump my volume as well. But yeah, my mixer can be a little bit difficult. Yeah, we've got this little mix amp, the Rode, I think it's like the AI RI1 or something like that. But I threw the gain up. Let's see if that helps out.
All right, we'll give it about another minute. I might be a little bit loud.
Yeah.
I'm much louder than the background. Uh-oh. Okay.
I think
How
I
do
keep
fix this?
I keep you at a call volume of like 71.
How do I fix this?
So,
It's not too loud.
this is
Very loud.
Jeremy. Can you guys hear me now? And
Yes.
how am I relative to you? That might help determine whether it's loud or quiet. That's the issue.
Well, it might be me that's quiet.
Under voice and video. Unless you have gain on your mic, Austin. Do you have a gain dial?
Let me see. This is a
Whoever-
new mic.
Sorry, whoever just spoke is closer to Austin's volume than Corbin's volume. So Corbin
Ah.
might be quiet.
Yeah, so it's probably me then.
Ooh, the truth comes out.
It is the truth.
Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Well, I bumped my gain just about as much as I can before we pick up some background audio, so maybe I just need to speak up for tonight.
Okay, so I believe we're just about ready to go. Yeah?
Think so.
All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is the monthly IGA Ann Arbor meetup, and we've got a pretty awesome night for you. We've got a really awesome industry speaker here, Corey Heald of Underbite Games in Grand Rapids. And then we have a lot of very awesome show and tell presenters as well. They'll get about 10 minutes each. And so you'll be hearing from a lot of different studios tonight. Let's go ahead and take a look at something, though. There you are. So a few quick announcements before we introduce Corey and get the show on the road. So the first is that, wow, in the last couple months, we've had a ton of local games release, and it has just been fantastic. These are really, really great games, all of them, and they're fairly cheap as well. I encourage you to give them a shot. The first one is Insect Adventure by Mayo Force LLC. I'll go ahead and play some of the footage here. This is a really, really cool kind of Metroidvania style game with a lot of melee-based action. That is really a lot of fun. And I believe this is Mayo Force's first game release, which is absolutely insane. Very, very high quality. So give it a shot, okay? Check it out. Second, we have Aerial Knights Never Yield. So this is an Infinite Runner style game, a little bit in the spirit of, I believe, the Bit Trip series. It has beautiful and very stylized 3D graphics, and it is a ton of fun. I beat it on the PlayStation not very long ago. A very, very, very good time. Give it a shot, okay? Next up, and this is a game that you'll be hearing about later tonight, is Flyover Games Wave Crash. It is a really, really, really innovative 1v1 kind of puzzle fighting hybrid game that is super, super fun in multiplayer, and it really, really rewards kind of medium and long-term planning. The basic gist of it is you build up these patterns on the side of your board, and you can send those patterns and the shapes they form at your opponent. So whatever patterns you build, that is going to be the offensive capability that you have, okay? So it's a ton of fun. Give it a shot. All these games are pretty accessible, and I believe that's just about it. We have a few open career roles. At Stardock, they asked us to present this to you. Art director, senior 3D artist. They have an open role for online game designers, associate/junior game designers, tools developers. So if you are looking for an opportunity, please consider the startup.com careers page, okay? Next, I'd like to show you and just remind you of michigangamestudios.com. We're adding new features to this just about every month, and we're trying to add as many new studios as we can to give you one nice directory for finding all of your fellow devs locally. If you are not on here, or if something is wrong about your entry, or if you know of a studio that isn't on here, please go to the bottom, click this request to change link, and we will get that added, okay? Thank you all so much for participating and making this a pretty cool resource. I just love going down through these and all the studios that I don't really know that much about, just seeing what everyone's working on is really, really cool, okay? So I believe that is just about it. Does anyone have any community announcements before we introduce Corey?
I know that we did have a community announcement posted a little earlier talking about the game Darkest Deity, which did just go live after their E3 announcement trailer. And they have been doing relatively well. And I believe that is a local publishing company. I'm sorry, Dark Deity, not Darkest Deity. That is my mistake.
In Darkest Dungeon, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Dark Deity, and it looks like they've had some pretty positive response, and I believe that's a local publishing company that's published this smaller indie game. And so it's super awesome to see some successful small indie publishers making some cool stuff.
Very cool. It definitely harkens back to the classic Fire Emblem series.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think that's probably just about it, unless the presenter Q&A has anything. No, I think we're just about good. All right, everyone. So today we have a really, really awesome guest. In Grand Rapids, there's a studio called Underbite Games. And I believe as far as studios go in this state, it's pretty big and it's very impactful. They've recently released a couple different games. Well, not recently, but they've released a couple different games to Steam that have done really well. Sentinels of Freedom. I think I have it on here. Where is it? Is it Super Dungeon Tactics? And these are really, really cool games I'm sure we'll hear a bit about. The lead of Underbite Games is Corey Hild, who was an instructor at Ferris. In fact, he was a student at Ferris, I believe, before moving on to Yeti CGI, or another really cool kind of game dev visualization company in Grand Rapids, and then founding Underbite Games, where things have gone really, really well. So, Corey, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see your presentation, and you can go ahead. Go for it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was interesting coming up with a topic today. I just wanted to bring something hopefully new, but some things that I guess um, really trying to cultivate that indie culture and talk about some things that for me were things that I wish I would have known about. And so we'll get to that in a minute. The first thing I thought I'd do is just kind of run through, I guess, a little bit more in depth of kind of where I'm at. And so during the Q&A session at the end, please feel free to ask questions about anything I'm presenting, showing, whatever. But I thought I'd run through just a brief kind of studio history. We've actually been around for 8 years now, so that's been kind of a big deal for us. And then before that, I was with Yeti CGI, as you mentioned. So I've been in Michigan doing game-related stuff for 15 years now. So it's been, pretty exciting to be a part of that and kind of help things go. So I'll get started with the presentation, and then I'm hoping to leave a good amount of time for Q&A at the end. And I'll just kind of go through this at a brisk pace, but not hopefully too fast. And we'll start off with just talking about kind of the journey.
All right. Corey, real quick, do you have any slides to show?
I do. I'll be putting that up here in just a
Gotcha.
second. So, all right. There we go. You see that okay? All right, cool. All right. First thing is really quick. I actually started a company when I was 23 called Dots in Motion. And little did I know it was going to be pretty impactful on my art career. We did a lot of work doing real-time 3D for the web. And at that time, we worked with Herman Miller and Steelcase and that kind of thing. But also, we ended up working with Land's End and Dell and Cisco servers and all that kind of thing, doing really high-end 3D models that were real-time on the web, full interaction. And this was, I'm going to date myself here, but this was 20 years ago. And so it was pretty exciting. We also did a pretty cool app for Herman Miller at the time. It was, some people hailed it as one of the more advanced kind of configurator tools that were out there live on the web in 3D anywhere, not just for furniture. So I got started doing that and really just made modeling efficient, and having to work off of photos. We had to sometimes be within some crazy tolerances based on the photos that they sent us. And so it was a great opportunity, did lots of different types of work, not really game related, but definitely 3D and presentation wise. So I then sold my company to DesignVox here locally in Grand Rapids. Very high-end marketing firm, got a taste for graphic design, and that was also something that definitely kind of shaped who I became as an artist. Just seeing that level of perfection that they had, level of graphic design influence that I got from there. So eventually went and helped start Ferris State University's digital animation and game design program. Marty Lear was the spearhead of that. I had worked with him for a while, and I was actually the second instructor brought on. Interesting enough, I didn't even have a degree at that point. So it was pure industry experience that was kind of bringing me through that. But we were really, really early on, and I felt like we really took that program. At one time, it was a top 10 in its field for graphics. And as I mentioned earlier in our kind of pre-talk, a couple of the instructors and I realized that we were putting out some students that we were really proud of, really excited about what they could do, but ran into some pitfalls where they just didn't have the industry experience that really needed to get that job. So we broke away and started Yeti CGI. We did a bunch of small games and that kind of thing. So we worked with Game Show Network. Rich Dad Poor Dad was one I wasn't overly excited about, but it was money that came in. The one in the lower left here was actually from Nickelodeon, and so that was a pretty cool opportunity to do some small games there. Um, but got really excited when we took my master's project and actually decided to make a game out of it, and it was Roaming Fortress. The game's actually on Steam. It's under Yeti CGI and Brisk, and it's a tower defense. I'm not sure how easy if it would come up if I show it here. Does this show up the Roaming Fortress like a blue Steam? Not sure if you can see it. Yeah.
We still see your slides
Okay. Okay.
with the screenshots.
All right.
I'll post a link to the game in the chat.
Yeah, no worries. And so basically, it was a tower defense, but you had to actually build things on top of this creature as it's walking, and you had resources you got and all that kind of thing. Ended up being a really fun game. It was actually built in Flash, and we made a desktop app out of it back then. So the cool thing from that was um, I learned a few things. So one, I learned that not all PR firms are worth anything. We worked with a publishing company that was just terrible. But out of this, I remember I was in my backyard throwing the ball with my dog, and I got a call from California. I just decided to take it, and it was actually at this time, and again, this is dating myself. The guys that made Backyard Monsters, and that was kind of the precursor to Clash of Clans style games, but it was all on Facebook. And he said he saw Roaming Fortress and said, "We want you to do all of our artwork for the whole game." And this was back when it was a big deal, when Farmville was a thing and all that kind of thing. So we ended up doing probably about 80% of the art for Backyard Monsters. It was a huge deal. That got us into their next game, which we actually got to do concept art for and then do all the art for that. And then on top of that, we also got into an interesting deal. We actually led a team of artists into Zanga when they had like 5, 6 floors, and actually helped them develop Farmville 2. So we actually were working on with their team, helping create art for that. We also did when they converted Club Penguins to 3D. We ended up doing such good work that they actually gave us all of their Star Wars Club Penguin work. I think we were rocking somewhere around 12 artists at the time, and it was a good old time. So eventually, though, different things happened, and the company decided to go more of a tech route. And I really love games. That's been my passion. That's where Roaming Fortress came from, and I was kind of pushing that. And so we kind of split paths a little bit, and I started Underbite Games. It wasn't originally called that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Underbite Games came out of that, and I also have a love of board games, and so I used my connections with board games, and we started doing little ports of games and that kind of things. It was pretty interesting to get those games going, and use some of the connections I had to finally start saying the word of what if. What if we did something bigger? And a company called Ninja Division or Soda Pop Miniatures, they go by both names. They made a game called Super Dungeon Explorer, and it was kind of a, I guess, D&D light, Descent light kind of game. Got to talking with them, and they're like, "Hey, let's make a game." So we started doing a bunch of pitches for it, and landed on some stuff that we liked. And they're like, "Hey, we're going to PAX Prime. Why don't you guys go with us and show off the game?" And I'm like, "It's 2 months away." And so we kind of worked our butts off and actually put together a working demo in 2 months with full art, full everything. And it was big enough that Microsoft, actually, one of their reps came by and said that they were interested in talking with us. So they liked what they saw. And that game ended up being a pretty interesting one to work on. We hit all the different platforms. So we were on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. So that was a big leap for us. We worked with a PR firm. We had a December release. That was terrible. We kind of ran out of money, so we had to release at that time. But I will say, do not release in December if you can at all hope do it. Wait till kind of late February, that kind of time, or February is a good time. But we went a little over budget, and the results were not what the PR firm kind of thought we would get. So our hopes were kind of dashed a little bit, but we still did pretty well. And it definitely was a great experience. The other thing that came from that is shows and events, and we started to learn a whole lot. And that's one of the big things I want to share with you guys tonight, is talking about going to events and shows and how to prepare for that. So after that, we went to Sentinels of Freedom was our next game. That was based on the card game Sentinels of the Multiverse. So again, took a existing game, at least an IP, and then said, hey, let's make a whole new game around those characters and everything. And that was an interesting one. We had a ton of support from Ninja Division when we did that game. With this one, we had much less support from the original IP holders. So it was kind of a shock for us to be like, where's this going? Still great people to work with, but just wasn't the level of support that we kind of expected and kind of got used to from previously. And we did run a Kickstarter. The Kickstarter alone raised $75,000, so that was considered successful. But holy cow, Kickstarters are a time sink, and they still are. We're still kind of delivering some stuff, and it is beastly, and just it takes so much time to kind of work on. The other thing to keep in mind that we didn't know about is if you give free keys to Kickstarter people and they go and do reviews, Steam's not going to count those because they're not paid users. So we had a big issue with our biggest fans and people who understood the game and kind of were outspoken about that. Were not able to actually have contributing reviews, and on Steam, reviews are everything. So we had to fight like tooth and nails to get the game into the ratings. Where I think both of our games now are at mostly positive, which is kind of a good spot to be. But man, it took some work, really working with the community and trying to get that going. So. And then the last thing is, we can't really say a whole lot about it, but we did pitches to publishers in September. It took all the way, as terrible as 2020 was. Literally Christmas Eve, we got an email from the publisher saying, we're greenlighting you guys. We're going to take care of you. Let's go. And so we kind of moved things. We kind of moved out of let's kind of bootstrap this stuff to actually work with a publisher. They're out of the UK. They've been unbelievably awesome. The new game is a fully original IP, and we are excited to death to be working on that. And it's just a great, great opportunity that we were able to kind of work towards and get. So hopefully in September, we'll be talking about that a little bit. And so maybe around that launch time, you guys can have me back or something like that, and we can talk about the new game. So what I wanted to actually talk about tonight is, I know everyone talks about techniques, and this is my game specifically. I wanted to actually talk about some of the things that I'm actually really passionate about, which is outside of the game. So looking at some things that I feel like we miss on a lot, or people kind of overlook. And we've had, been I guess, we've seen this firsthand in that, we've put out some good games, but there hasn't been enough people to know about it, or the ways we handled it were not right. And so I just wanted to hopefully help some of you out that are maybe looking into doing an indie studio type thing, and share some of the experiences I've got. So hopefully you don't have to make those same mistakes, or you can, be prepared for things as they come up. So one of the biggest things we've done, and we still do this as a studio, and even on our third game, we're looking at doing. So just kind of sharing out there that we really try and simplify our design. We look at and by the way, my spelling sucks. I'm just going to be honest. If you find mistakes, I'm sorry, but when we look at a game, we look at a smaller chunks, smaller mechanics, and things that we can layer together and make a complex product out of that. And we find that there's a whole lot of things that are there. The, uh, it's easier for people to work on. So if we've got different devs working on things, we want to outsource something, whatever it is, or even just get something working that we're going to show off, then we are able to do that with smaller mechanics kind of working together. The audience onboarding. One of the big things if you start going to shows, which is something that we did a lot of, if you have to explain forever how to play your game, people will just walk. But if they can jump in and get it, then you've captured them and you've captured that excitement and probably a future person to buy your product. The other thing is bug fixing. One of the things I learned from teaching was having to jump into someone else's whatever mess they created and try and fix it and try and understand what it was. And so the smaller your pieces are, the more contained that is. And if you have to kind of take that out for a minute, you can. You can focus on what that is. But if you've got this giant strung together system that is everything is relying on and that breaks or doesn't work, then you're kind of hosed. So um, the other thing is we definitely look at taking proven mechanics. So both of our previous games were turn-based strategy games. There's no shame in saying, "Hey, this works. Let's build off of that and do something new." Both of those games, though, we've got two or three things that we brought to the table that we felt like nobody has ever done before, and it really makes those things unique, and that's okay to everybody's got their own feeling on what that is, but we really felt like we branched out and did something cool. And then again, consider your team skills. The first thing we do when we start talking about a game is saying, where are our strengths, where are our weaknesses, and also where do we want to grow. And that's really important to put that piece on there too, because it's okay to do something you don't know, but make sure that you're planning for that extra time for that, and you don't put too many of those things out there. So those are some design philosophies. Uh, when you start working towards that game, the other big thing we do is we kind of put together, what it is that this game makes it unique. And these are things that we hope will transition all the way to if it was a physical product on the back of the box that somebody would read. These are ways that we talk with people at shows. So Super Dungeon Tactics, a classic turn-based strategy. That was our hook. People, okay, cool, I'm interested. Tell me more. Well, if every round is unique because we've got this dice mechanic that changes every single round. It's a balance of strategy and chance. It's not all one or the other. And we kind of go down the list. These are things that we always check against when we're looking at features. We're looking at, is the game playing the way we want to? And then as we talk with marketing people and that kind of thing, they're all being pointed at these items. So this also works when describing your studio. Think about what you want to be known for. Our next game is not a turn-based game. We don't want to be only turn-based strategy, although those are my favorite. So we wanted to break away from that. So trying to think about, taking, tried and true genres and adding something new to it, bringing something new to some classic things. That's kind of a feeling that we've got. And when we announce our next game, you'll definitely see that we definitely went for it on that one. The other big thing, and I'll share with you if you're ever working on turn-based strategy games, the best thing we ever did was paper prototyping. In the upper left up there, you can see Super Dungeon Tactics. That was at its core system. We actually took a board game, made a digital game, but we actually went back and created a board game in itself that to this day, I still think it's questionably better than the original. It was a really fun, simple, easy to jump in game. But what was awesome with it is we used it throughout the whole design process. So as we started building levels and that kind of thing, you can see we took big sheets of plexiglass, put it over grid paper, And that's how we designed when we started talking about what we're going to do, where things were going to come from, and those simple mechanics. Because we could paper prototype them, we could actually talk with developers, we could talk with the IP holders, and talk with each other very easily without having to touch code. And so we were able to basically make the core of the game without a single line of code. That allowed us to kind of finish up some past stuff that we were working on while myself and the other designer actually moved forward on some things. So it was pretty exciting. With Sentinels, we took it even further. You can see we've got miniatures again. We built out a city environment. It was all based on measuring. There's a video up on our YouTube that you can check out for that. But we actually made an app that took some of the more complex calculations and made a calculator for those. And so that was just an amazing experience. And I can't speak enough about paper prototyping. The next step when you're presenting something or thinking about a game, and I still don't consider this part of the full, we're in production. This is still early phases, is looking at design, the prototype. And so trying to squeeze everything into 2 to 3 months is kind of our goal when we work on things. That's what we've done so far all the way along. And be okay throwing it away. But it's very helpful when you're using creating visuals for pitch docs. And so that's something that we used to get all of our projects was creating this demo. And some of them we would actually show at events like as big as PAX with the demos we created in 2 months, and that helped us get moving. So again, for us, everything I've talked about so far with the paper prototyping, the design philosophy, and even this 2 to 3 month demo, we still don't consider that actually in development yet. That's still just talking about ideas of what we want to do. It's more visual explaining things. And so it kind of ends that early stages of that project with kind of putting together that pitch. And this could be a pitch to fellow classmates saying, hey, this is my game, let's go for it. It could be talking to an uncle that's going to invest in your game, or talking to, in this case, the one you see there is actually for Nintendo for Sentinels of Freedom. They want a 2 to 3 page document, and they want to be able to see, what that page is before they're going to allow you to go and be on the Switch store. The other thing is when you go to a publisher, though, we heard over and over again. We went to a PAX East conference and they talked about, we got to meet a bunch of publishers. That's where we actually pitched our newest game. And over and over again up in the front, they would say, show us your game at any point. The more finished it is, the better. But if it's a good idea, if it's on a napkin, that's okay. That is not the case. Not that anything we've found. I'm talking 8, 9 publishers have never accepted a napkin, much less even a playable rough prototype. They wouldn't even take. They wanted it more polished. They wanted all these things being added on there. So for us to pitch something, we need a fully playable demo. We need the pitch document. We've got to list the key features, similar games, budgets calculated, schedules made. And to be honest, even though we could put in giant words, this is not final art, they will judge you on that art as if it was final. So just be aware as you go along into that phase in working on that 2 to 3 month demo. Art can be super critical in that if you try and polish it and make it look nice. You've definitely got to sharpen your pencils there and do as much as you can. And they are going to judge you on core mechanics, and making sure that they feel like it's fun. We were surprised how big some of the documents we got from the publishers were on getting that pitch back. And we're like, we thought it was just showing you an idea and trying to communicate that through, interactivity. And they were judging it as if we were getting ready to, go into full production exactly as it was. So again, all that hopefully helps a little bit with preparing for getting a game out there to say, hey, we're going to start production. Where are you going to go with it? How are you going to present it? And that kind of thing. So um, the next thing I want to talk about is um, something that often gets kind of overlooked and kind of accepted as being okay is the promotional side of things. So we have our concept, we have our demo and all that kind of thing. But the next step is talking about brand, whether it be your brand, which is actually the first thing you need to do if you're going to be starting kind of a little indie studio. The second is the brand around that product and making sure that it's cohesive and everything. For instance, we started off as Grand Rapids Game Design, our name, because we had to start a company in a month. It's a little complicated as to why that was, but it was. We went through a whole bunch of logos though, because we realized we needed to rebrand. This middle one was a terrible thing that I put together that was really scary. But eventually we ended up with our fish, which people have grown to love, that we've been around, and we're really really happy with it. But when you think about your company and what's going on, whether it be your product, the game you're making, the logo for that, or your company logo, your team is going to rally behind that, and your audience is going to remember you because of that logo. We've been to PAX South, I think, 3 times now, and by the second time, people were like, "Oh, you guys are the orange fish," and they would come up to us and they knew who we were based on that fish. You can't pay for that. That's amazing to have that opportunity to connect with someone based on that. Your game is the same way. You want people to remember that's that game because there's so much noise. How do you separate it, and how do you get them to connect with what's going on? I will say it was so difficult coming up with a name. I mean, a studio name. It was one of the more complicated things I've ever had to do, and having 2 of them is even worse. So when you go to deal with publisher or deal with consoles and stuff like that, your true name versus your DBA name is a nightmare. So come up with one if you can. The other thing is, as you get in there and you start working on your game, we're creating awareness of that product because we want to start that early. One of the things I really found is that there's so many things that can be time consuming as you're working on promoting your product and talking about your game. I mentioned the Kickstarter was a huge time sink. It was massive and it still is. And we're almost finished with the last stage of some Kickstarter deliveries there. But as you go about and think about you're working on your game and you want to start showing off things, think about the way you want to represent it with colors and placement and key art, taglines, support elements. How do you want to present your game or your studio? And think about that stuff early and have some templates that you can work with. Then you can drop in art behind it. You've got it all set. You change the tagline using your font that you chose, and you post something on Twitter, you post something on Facebook, and it's ready to go. You want these things to be recognizable, but you also want to make them quick. And you can stack up a bunch of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them, have them sitting there, and get them all ready for Facebook to kind of create some awareness of what you're doing. So that's another thing that is I found to be very very important. Um, the other big one is talking about shows. I don't know how many people have been to shows, like been to PAX and that kind of thing. We lucked out in the beginning and got spoiled by Ninja Division. They actually let us go to shows. Sometimes would pay for our hotels, and we could use their booth space. And it was like, okay, we got to experience this. This is really cool. And then all of a sudden, they took that leash off, and we had to start doing it on our own. And we realized how well we had it, how good we had it. Some things that we've found from shows as you start to develop games and think about going to these is you can build some amazing connections with other devs, with publishers, with your user base. Like I said, we're starting to get some name recognition and that kind of thing, which is pretty exciting. You can create awareness of your game company. and also provide some good milestones. One of the tricks with doing indie game development is making sure that you're hitting certain goals and your game isn't just kind of continually happening without having any kind of put together build that you want to do and show things with features. So the show has provided really great ways of saying, hey, we've got PAX East coming. We're spending X dollars on this. We better have something to show here that rocks. Because if it breaks while we're there at the show, then no one's going to want to deal with us. Also, it's a great opportunity to get feedback directly from people. We would have notebooks and just literally jot down in front of people as we were talking to them and they were playing the game ideas that they had, which they felt great about. They felt like they were contributing to the game and and they were, because if you hear something over and over again, we're like, that's got to fix. And so it was pretty fantastic for that. The side note is cons are really, really expensive. And I'm not talking about going to, the local one here in Grand Rapids or whatever it is. I'm talking about PAX East, PAX West, those. They're pretty stinking expensive. We, on average, I would say, would spend between $5,000 and $6,000 going to a convention, and that was airfare, shipping all the product out there, and all that kind of stuff. But we did find some ways to kind of mitigate some of the costs, and I want to share that with you as we go through here too. So it's also very time consuming. You've got a week for the con. Usually everyone comes back sick, so then you're going to take 2-3 days off. And it's also really difficult to measure, was it worth it? You don't typically see giant spikes in sales, but you are creating awareness of your brand and also of your game. So if you decide to go to a con, some things that I would really think about is make it worth it. Invest in your equipment, invest in what you're doing. Don't go and just hang a banner off of the black thing that they've got. It's in the event. Take time to actually spend some money on this stuff, because it can really make a big difference. I've got some pictures I can show later, but we got a display where we can print on it, so we can change it for each game that we're working on. It sits into a duffel bag, and it was well worth the cost when we went in there. We did find some tips and tricks for you guys if you're going to go to things. Shipping is super expensive, right? So we would often either find a UPS store that would let us ship to them, or we'd talk to the hotel or the Airbnb or whatever. We would actually have stuff done and designed and done and like floor tiles, buttons and pins and anything like that. We would actually ship it to the hotel instead of shipping it to us, because then we're not having to ship it again, because we would fly out to PAX East, for instance. So we would just have everything shipped on time to the hotel, and they would hold it for us, and we'd get there and we'd take it. So we only had to pay. We got the free shipping from the store. A lot of common things we would actually buy there and just give away afterwards. So tables and chairs, don't ever ship those things. Just go and buy some black sheets, buy some tables, and wherever you're at. We had some in Los Angeles. We went to an event, the Anime Expo, and we bought most of the stuff for the booth there besides our backdrop, and saved a ton of money. Floor tiles are a must if you're not in elite shape like some people. I'm not. And so make sure you do that. Bring everything into the hall. We would have carts, and everybody would have almost look like mule packs on them, and we would walk into a show and completely set up so we didn't have to work with the union, because that would cost ridiculous amounts of money to have everything go through shipping and that kind of stuff. So you can actually walk in, get everything set up yourself as long as you can carry it in, and that saved us a tremendous amount of money. Airbnb over hotels. We would do breakfast in the Airbnb. You can pack a lot of people in there if you're going to bring a lot. Definitely do that. And then the other big thing we found is once your game is out there, and if you do an early access, you might be able to do it sooner. Is we actually sold our game in our booth. And what we did is we took the whatever Steam was going to take, and we made we put stickers and buttons and things like that in a box with some stickers on it, and we sold the game for the same price you could get it online, but it came with stuff. And the first time we did that, we had excess amount of stuff, but we ran out of boxes and things. People were buying these things with baggies. Like we would put them in plastic bags because they wanted them so much. And we literally almost paid for our whole show by selling the game at the show. And a lot of those people wouldn't have even bought the game probably because they just got overloaded and they probably would go home and forget about it anyways. But to be there and have the show almost paid for, like I remember paying for our hotel in cash, and it was pretty awesome. So just something to think about. That's a way that you can kind of mitigate some cost. Is having that having something to sell. Um, and again, just kind of talking about some of the shows, just showing off, what we transitioned through. PAX Prime, that was when it was called PAX Prime. That was our first one, showing off our demo for Super Dungeon Tactics. We then PAX South is a great one that's very accessible. And then we went to PAX West, and I talked about the people who own the board game having it easy for us. They also went crazy. They built an arcade machine for our game, and actually would take that around to places. And so the demo would actually be playing on there. And so it was pretty crazy. But you can see we actually got sponsored by Alienware, and so they would take care of all of our machines and monitors and everything, and set that up for us. Um, they gave us a Alienware to give away. Um, the thing to bring that up is always ask. If you've got a game that seems cool, looks good, reach out to people and just say, hey, would you be interested in? The worst they can say is no, and who cares if they say no, right? But if they say yes and you got free computers or you got something at a show, it's definitely going to save you some money. I think at our height, we went to PAX East, which is my favorite convention. The little arrow here, that's actually where we ended up. This was moving up into the front. One thing to know from PAX is the more you go, the better your spot, and you keep moving forward as you go. Anytime you cancel one, that hurts you. Anytime you don't go, it hurts you. So if you can go and you want to get into that kind of routine, you start to move up, and we were in a pretty good spot here, and that definitely helps your visibility and everything. So the big thing is, why is this all important? And I know I rifled through a whole lot of stuff, but I bring it up because starting off with design and what you're building, um, defining your game helps you focus. Smaller scope prevents massive roadblocks, and paper prototypes are going to simplify your design and help you actually create what you're doing. So starting with something that you can achieve, something that you can communicate with and iterate on without having a lot of time and cost is a place to start. And then the next thing is awareness and compelling visuals and descriptions equal potential sales. Um, I don't know how many times we heard people say, and this was, after we were pitching Sentinels, people would come in and say, with Super Dungeon, this is my kind of game, but I've never heard of it. I never saw it on Steam. I never saw it, wherever it was. And that really started to resonate with us, which is where this kind of came from, is thinking about it. You guys might have some of the most awesome ideas. And the reason I kind of talked about how you're presenting, how you're designing, one is making sure you're creating the game, but then once you've created this thing, making sure it presents well is so key important. And it's just one of those things that we didn't realize until midway through this whole journey that we've been doing. In that you've really got to be thinking about everybody that walks by. Is it going to catch them? Are they going to be interested in it? Because otherwise they're going to get missed. So I know it's a little bit scattered, but it was just some things that for me, and I was thinking about what I would like to share with people that I just have never been told before, is thinking about some of these concepts outside of the game design. how to prepare for things. And if you ever are like, hey, I'm going to be going to the show. What do I need? What are some things you want to do? I didn't give you a laundry list, but you're welcome to reach out direct to me directly and just say, hey, I'm going to PAX for the first time. What can I do to get ready for that? Or, whatever, any of these concepts, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to share. Um, One of the most impactful articles I ever read was on Gama Sutra it was titled "Shipping Games Kills Indies," and I was like, that was a weird title, and I read into it, and it made sense in that everybody puts so much into these games, and it doesn't do what they expect it to do. And then all of a sudden that fails. They feel like they're either they put too much into it or put everything into it, and they're not getting it back out. And the other part of it was all that learning that they did goes away. So I think the more we can communicate as indie devs and talk to each other and share these experiences of even simple things like, this is the cart I would use to bring stuff in, or this is the backdrop I would use at a show. Um, these are things that are key. You don't have to discover on your own and hopefully not trip over as you go through. So I think really trying to unify and share the knowledge is beyond just making the game is really important. So anyways, that's what I got. So
That was an awesome experience. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
yeah,
Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen who are here, if you'd like to, please feel free to post any questions that you have in the presenter Q&A channel here on Discord or in the voice chat channel. We'll try to keep our eyes open for that. But yeah, I mean, that was awesome. I guess I have a question that I can start off with. You said
sure.
that you approached publishers for this upcoming title of yours. Did you look outside the game industry at all for any outside financing or anything like that?
Not for this one. That's interesting you asked that because we did have with Super Dungeon Tactics, um, we had Ninja Division giving us some support, and then we realized we wanted the game to be bigger than it was, so we decided together to go and reach out and say, hey, let's see if we can find some support. And we actually we presented a table of about 12 people in Grand Rapids that were pretty big names that were willing to fund Super Dungeon Tactics here in Grand Rapids. I was blown away.
Awesome.
And we actually had one person jump in and say, I'm just going to take care of the whole thing for you. And they took care of the rest of it. So Super Dungeon Tactics did have funding, but it was all local. And it was a pretty good experience. We decided to go with publishers on this one just because we wanted the PR marketing piece to be taken care of as well, and felt like we were missing on that because everybody keeps saying you can do this on your own. That might be true, but I'm not a social butterfly when it comes to getting out there, and I had some issues with. We felt that would take care of it. So
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Looks like our first question is just out of curiosity, what was the reason behind why releasing in December is a bad idea and why February is a better option?
yeah, great question. There was so much noise from people trying to sell existing products that were out there, so like from the consoles and from all that kind of thing. And then on top of that, the sorry, lost my train of thought. It was with um, people being out of school and everything and having the consoles, they would pour through a bunch of content. And so in February-ish, they were starting to look for new content. And so then your game being released is something that they can acquire pretty easily after they have their new console system. So
That's awesome. Next question was, when paper prototyping the design of a game, how long should it take to have a physical product slash board, etc. generally?
actually making it a physical product versus just going into straight design doesn't really take that much longer. Um, and I think it's just long enough that you can kind of iterate on it as quickly as possible. And I think we would probably spend a good 2-3 weeks in that process of just keeping it in paper, bringing the team over, talking with them, letting them play it, letting them mess with it, and then from there, depending on what we need to do, like Super Dungeon, we used it all the way throughout. Whereas Sentinels, the game quickly outgrew our paper prototype, but the mechanics that were used there never stopped. So yeah, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, of messing around with a paper prototype, as opposed to going right into code, or I would settle.
That's awesome. So Stephen asks, since you've made games with this other established IP, what would be your dream property to adapt to a game?
Oh boy, um, that's a tough one. Um, I mean, I know this is going to be kind of a cheesy one, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I play X-wing miniatures as my board game crack, I guess. And so, uh, doing something with Star Wars, but in a genre that we haven't seen before or used that much before, would be really fun for me. So not something necessarily real time, but maybe a strategy type game where it's a big kind of. I know they had one term, strategy game a while ago, but probably Star Wars. I mean, if I was going to be honest, but yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Austin asks, you mentioned careful of small shows. So he asks why. Would small shows present a good opportunity to practice your booth and assets with smaller and cheaper stakes, or do you still recommend against them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what we found is it depends on your cost and your timing, right? The things you brought up there is practicing your pitch, and setup and all that kind of thing. Fantastic for doing small shows. What I found is when they started to cost some money, there was one in Ohio we did that was like $550 or something like that. Plus, we had to take the whole team down, or not the whole team, but we took several of us down there. We set up, we did all these things, and it just was not enough foot traffic for us to say, "Hey, I've got 4 people here, kind of twiddling our thumbs," and there was not even a move in the meter on Steam, for instance, of like sales.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's free, if it's cheap, if it's nearby, go for it. Any publicity is great, but going to those smaller ones where they kind of like, hey, yeah, we're next up and coming PAX, probably not. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't take the time to do it.
That's fair. You can also always practice at the 5 minute showcase here at IGDA each month.
Yeah,
Practicing your pitch
yeah.
could be a good option. Little self plug there. The next question was that you mentioned that indie developers should plan for future projects and not just the current projects. What are What strategies do you recommend for approaching this challenge of planning for those future projects?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. I almost like literally had a whole section just dedicated to this because we started off. I'll be honest, thinking that we were going to hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
We had stars in our eyes and thought, that we were going to be set, and it didn't happen. Thankfully, Super Dungeon Tactics is still selling and selling well, and so long term, that's where it's at. But when it comes to thinking about planning for the future, it's one of those things where the reason we're hiring a second dev, the number one reason is to start working on our prototype for the game after the one we just got. We are already thinking about concepts. We're going to be doing that vertical slice and taking time now to have meetings to talk about it and then hopefully get it into production where by the time we finish with our current game, we started in February, we want a vertical slice for the second game already pitched and have it in the bag, to get going. And so that's the mentality we've had to switch to is take time to think about what's next. And just kind of keep moving with that. So that's where I ignore Yoda and I, think in the stars, think ahead. That's what I've got to do. So you've got to you've got to plan for what comes after what you're working on, and take the time to do it. So
Yeah, that is excellent advice. I love the idea of planning for your next project before your first one's done. Just keeps the momentum going.
Yeah.
Scott asks, can you go into greater detail about the budgeting and scheduling when starting a new game? Are there any good resources on hiring/pricing for indie game studios that you would recommend?
Whew. Um, with budgeting and scheduling, the first thing you do is look at what what your target is and where you're trying to go. Is there a release date? If that is, that's going to set your end goal, and then you start slotting in, those key events that you want to do. What I don't mean events by shows necessarily, but key things of like we want the game at this state to be here and so on. And then you're starting to look at your team, and we break that down into what everybody's roles are, what can they get done, and to be honest, most of the time it's hinging on the developers. And the developers are kind of looking at it saying, what can I do in a month's time? And that's kind of the time period we work in is about a month. Is saying, all right, this month, what can we get done? Can we get this mechanic in? Yes. And then kind of move it out and see where the game will end up being. And that gives you a good idea of saying, at this point, I need to cut certain things maybe because you schedule everything out and there's just no way to make that happen. And so you got to kind of scale things down, or you extend your budget and extend your time. Is kind of the way to go from there. So, um, and hiring wise, it's always tricky because you don't always know what you're asking for before you start a project. We ran into that even in this current game because we're doing more high-end outsourcing than we ever had before for music and concept art and some of the other things. And some of the stuff is just crazy how much they were looking at getting for like sound design from more of a pro type studio than what we were used to. I'm talking 10 times what we spent in Super Dungeon Tactics is what people were asking for.
Yeah.
And so some of that's a little bit scary. And so you just got to find, ways around it. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the best advice that I got when I was first starting was to ask every other local studio I could find, hey,
yeah.
what did you do and what didn't work? And when we
Yeah.
started up our studio here in Saline, that was the number one thing. Is I was like, hey, can we get coffee and just talk for a few? Because I'm terrified, and that helped out a lot, at least on my end. So I recommend that to everybody else as well. Is ask
Definitely.
questions, come to things like this, and talk. Paul the philosophy guy, I love your name, sorry. What legal and tangible steps does it take to create an actual game studio? So in other words, how does one become official? At least in your opinion.
I mean, it depends how protective you want to be and how protective you want to be for yourself and also the name. Like we went as far as LLC, and so you definitely want to work with someone that's in the legal department to kind of set that stuff up because it's not something I would do by myself. There's a lot of times when something is important, whether it be plumbing or legal fees, legal things. If I don't know what I'm talking about, then I usually try and have somebody help me with it or take care of it. So, if it's just you, unless things have changed, and I could be wrong here, if it's your name / design, there's not a whole lot you have to do. I think you have to register in the county as far as you have to go in order to get that going. I'm not sure. I don't remember anymore what Steam requires, like what level of indie dev that they let put a game out there, but I don't think it's too crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's much.
So yeah. So I think if it's local, if it's Corey Hield Design or Corey Hield Game Studio, I think I can go down to the county, I think, and register my name, and I'm good to go. Is what if I remember things right, but don't quote me on that. So.
Yeah, and if you're ever looking to get started with the studio and you're in the local area, I know that Ann Arbor Spark can help out with that. I know that Richard Hogue from Hogue Law is always available to help, and he loves working with devs in the local area. So there's a lot of options available to you and things to do there. So Joe asks, what is something to work on for devs who are trying to break into the field? what is something that you would look at more than other like details? Like, what kind of things do you look for devs that are breaking in, like juniors?
Sure. And I've actually I've had 14 interviews in the last 3 days, so
Gosh.
I've shared some of this with some of the people I've talked to, and that's something I try and do is kind of pour back a little bit for their time. Is One of them is just making sure that you're doing stuff outside of what your school is requiring you to do. If I see only school projects, it's almost unless they're amazingly charismatic, it's almost always a no. But if there's things that they're working on outside of school, then I'm very, very intrigued. And there's two different ways I personally would go. If I see a project that's of quality, I don't mean like shippable, but a good quality project, start to finish, that's a bigger scale. That's fantastic. That shows dedication. It shows that you're able to, kind of plan that project all the way out. The other thing I still love to see is a whole bunch of smaller kind of demos and showing mechanics and explaining why you're showing me this thing. What did you learn from this? What did you do in this thing? And showing a whole bunch of those because it shows that you're willing to kind of learn some new things and show off some different techniques and shows your versatility. So sometimes this happens to artists too, that if you only show one amazing scene versus showing 20, all different kinds of 3D objects that you made that are individual, if that one scene doesn't resonate with whoever's looking at it, then they can pass you over. Whereas if you give a lot of variety of things, then often you're able to show something that that person is actually thinking about or interested in. So I do like the tech demo mentality, even the small game, making it a small game but nothing too complex is a great route too. So, but I strongly recommend anything above what you do in school is definitely going to be, from everyone I know, is rated much higher than what you do in school. So,
Yeah, micro games are a wonderful experience and a great chance to kind of like show off stuff.
yeah.
Looks like Evan asks, what skills, hard or soft skills, do you like developers to have?
Whew. I guess we're a Unity house, so Unity C# from that side of things. Um, I think communication is kind of a weird skill to kind of put in there, but it's one of those things that I struggle with all the time with teams. Is just talking about what's going on and kind of letting me know, and so that we can talk through what are some different routes we can go. We can brainstorm ideas, and so that's a key one. I think you know. Being able to jump out and figure stuff out. I don't expect a dev to know everything, but I want them to be able to not just beat their head against code without going out to research, look at things, figure stuff out, and reach out on forums. What all have you done to kind of solve this problem or this challenge that's out there, and what have you looked into, as opposed to just keep trying something on your own without any outside stuff. So there's plenty of information out there, and so definitely take the time to go and being able to go look for it would be a big one. So
That's awesome. Yeah, soft skills get overlooked so often, but they're so essential to cooperative work. Scott D asks, has your company published your own tabletop game yet, or have you stayed in the virtual space?
we tried. We have a different name. It's called Utter Board Games, and we again from my master's project, it ended up being a game that turned into a heavy miniatures game. It's called Battle Scars. We brought it to Kickstarter, thought we did everything right, but again, that social media component of getting people aware bit us there as well. We thought we had it because we had, man, our website or our Facebook follows were through the roof, and we actually had a post that hit 35,000 likes on Facebook, which for us was pretty big. We were looking for 900 people to kind of back the game, so thought we'd be in pretty good shape, but we were wrong. We'll probably end up taking that game to Tabletop Simulator. So if anybody ever wants a fun, wants the challenge of doing something like that, let me know. And then trying to create some awareness there, and then bring it back to Kickstarter as well, because we've actually had several high-end designers that were really excited about the game. Actually, one of the designers from X-Wing Miniatures from Asmodee or Fantasy Flight as it was, actually tested out the game and tried it out, and was really excited about where it was going, and gave me some tips on that too. So yeah, so we've looked into it. It's something that's a passion of mine, but right now, with the opportunity we got, we're going to focus on that. So
Awesome. Well, Corey, thank you so much for the presentation today. Looks like we're going to get jumping into our community show and tell here in a few minutes. But again, I just wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of the community for having you come out today and talk about everything.
Cool. And thanks. And like I said, I know I ran through a lot of stuff, but please feel free to reach out after this with any questions or anything. I'm all over Discord, and just direct message me. Just give you permission to do that. I'm totally okay with it, and would love to talk with you. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I recommend that to everybody in the community. If you're ever curious about something, or you're starting off on your own studio journey, reach out to the local studios here in the area and just ping them. Just ask them, hey, what's up? Most people here are super friendly.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
There, Corey. Thank you.
Take care. Yeah.
Okay, Austin. So
all right. Well, we've got our first presenter already lined up. Do we need a break, Corbin, or can we just head right into it?
I think I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Likewise.
Awesome.
So let's go ahead and get started. First up is Steven Zavala of Flyover Games. He will be presenting the Wave Crash 1.0 release. Super exciting. So let's get him some share permissions. Then we'll get 5 minutes on the clock. 5 minutes to present whatever you want, and then 5 minutes of Q&A, okay? And then we move on to the next presenter. We've got 5 presenters tonight, and so this will be until about 9:30, okay?
Awesome. Nice and packed show today.
Steven, do you want my camera, or is mic just okay?
Whatever works best for you.
If you want to, yeah.
All right, let's see. Good. Let's see if it's actually works. Sometimes it doesn't like to sync up on Discord specifically. Hey, there I am.
All
What's
right.
up, everybody? All right.
All right.
Okay.
Are you ready to go, Steven?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Awesome.
5.
3.
And you guys getting that?
We are.
Yep.
All
3, 2, 1, go.
Cool. So yeah, this is Wave Crash, specifically the 1.0 version. So it's normally like a 1-on-1 game, like previously stated, but I'm just gonna jump into practice just to do some versus AI stuff real quick. So yeah, the game is a 1-on-1 puzzle fighting game. I'll just choose basic characters to start with real quick. And yeah, then objective of the game is you match up blocks to launch from your opponent to try to hit them. The idea for the game came to me originally. I think I have the sound muted right now. That's fine. It came to me originally in a dream about people running around on a like game board trying to throw waves at each other. And I translated that into a puzzle game. A lot of it came down to the fact that like I like fighting games. I like the aesthetics of them. I like the characters and their personalities and the art and just the feeling of it being a one-on-one competition with like, you can't rely on other people. It's just your skills. But I'm really bad at them. I have trouble with the inputs. I have trouble with learning all the, those like meta skills you need to know to really understand like matchups and whatnot. So I want to make a game that could like streamline some of that and put it in the context of puzzle games, which are a type of game that I am good at. So that's where I came up with this. And it's been in development on and off for way too long. Like I think my very first prototype was actually back in like 2015. And then I basically like work on it for like a month and then stop working on it for a while and then jump back and forth between it. But I finally like I actually was trying to get it done like way back before quarantine, but then lockdown happened and most of my motivation for making the game comes from seeing people play. I'd like to see that like actually be there for events or be there for meetups or whatever. Get their feedback and have that decide some of the direction of the game. And without that, it's really hard to be motivated. So for like probably like the first 6 months of like everything being shut down, I didn't touch the game at all. But I just recently dropped the 1.0 in May. And yeah, this version is basically the same, just some bug fixes to things, fixed up some stuff with like controller mapping, some just weird edge case stuff, and yeah, just made overall improvements. It turns out you can learn a lot from checking the community section on Steam, which I don't do a lot because I forget that exists. That's not something I interface with in like the games I play, and I just forget that's like part of the service is that you have this place where people can like drop comments for things. And yeah, it turns out there's some bugs people picked up on right away that were, once I knew about them, were like fixed in, maybe an hour or two. So that was nice. But I also got some good feedback from some people on my Discord. There's a game mode where basically, normally in the game, every time you land a hit, line gets pushed forward. But there's inverted mode where every time you score a hit, it gets pulled towards you. So it kind of makes it harder to win over time. It's kind of like a reverse momentum kind of thing. And I didn't play that mode a lot because I just put that in there after it was suggested by other people. But I didn't really think it was like the optimal way to play. And it turns out there's some bugs you play in that mode. So I was like, oh, I guess probably should have checked that out. So I guess that's one lesson I learned is you have to, like, whatever content you put in the game, if it's not like your favorite, you still need to like test everything very thoroughly. Which is where it'd be cool to have a QA process, but don't have one of those really. So I should put the sound up. Yeah, that's fine. I think I probably have the sound turned up way too loud anyways. If I were to unmute this, so I'd probably blow up my eardrums. Because I always forget to adjust sound levels for things. So whatever. It's for your benefit. There's no sound right now. But rest assured, the music's good.
60 seconds.
Most of it's from a friend of mine, Matt Willard. Used to do music on his own, but now mostly just does music when I tell him to do music for me. This was the last character added to the game. It's Hawk Justice, because I always wanted a luchador in a game, so I figured this is my chance to add a luchador to a game. I was a big El Blaze fan back in Virtua Fighter. His special attack is he jumps up like this, and goes like that. And did not like El Fuerte in Street Fighter 4. I felt like his playstyle was just awkward. The fact that like his whole deal is run back and forth to zone your opponent just didn't seem very luchador-y to like keep just spinning around in circles. Like it's. I feel like a luchador should be designed more aggressively to have a really good mobility with some nice throws, some cool like acrobatic movements and whatnot. But El Fuerte didn't hit the mark for me personally. What are other good luchador characters in fighting games? Can't think of any, but it has to be others. But this was one of the later stages made. You can tell because it's way more involved than all the other ones. Basically, they got more elaborate and better looking over time because I actually zoned in on what my art direction should be. This game is basically made with no real pre-planning. It's just kind of like as I went along, I added things that I thought were cool. So not
All
great
right.
goes, but
Awesome. All
Yep.
right. Okay, we've got 5 minutes now
Cool.
for any Q&A. So please post your questions in the chat.
Oh yeah, I unlocked a palette. Nice. Let's check out. I don't have the stream open, so I'm gonna see if there's any questions here. No questions. Cool. Plans for a delicious cheesy arcade mode. So like, yeah. Also, the plans for a deliciously cheesy arcade mode. I didn't. That's something that I would like to have, but it would require another pass on AI. Right now, the AI is pretty rudimentary. Just then, I was playing really soft just to let the AI actually get some shots in, but so it'd require that to be tuned up a lot. And the difficulty, like, because compared to similar puzzle games, the AI would just need to be able to know how to like create whatever chain you're going for, like in a Puyo Puyo in our Tetris. If you just teach the AI, here's the patterns you want to make, the AI can do that. But in this, because of the way you interact with them, they also have to be able to like anticipate other moves and then be able to like avoid them and know where danger's going to be to be able to play it effectively. And it was just something that's beyond my capacity, at least as far as the time I had for AI. So I'd either need that or I need a way for it to cheat really hard. There is a like single player survival mode. But that's more of like a time, or that's more of like a score attack mode. It doesn't really emulate the actual gameplay. Paul, the philosophy guy, asks, what helped for starting up the project again? Also part of the game took the longest, the art design, programming, audio. So what really helped was just, I don't know, it was just the knowledge that like I could get this done. Like, yeah, there's more that I wanted to do for it, but it's that knowing that like if I really wanted to, I could kick this out in a perfectly acceptable, like content complete state. You got 10 characters, you got 5 stages. They each have like different gimmick modes to them. You got a single player score attack mode. You got a 2-on-2 doubles mode. So it's pretty feature fleshed out. So it's just knowing that I just had to get myself in gear, I guess. And what part of the game took the longest? The only part I did not do the art for the background of the characters. My main thing was the programming. So I guess really ultimately, if I were to break it all down, probably like the core mechanics of the game, because there are like some edge cases and stuff they had to like change rules for, and different things I had to work around to make it function at like high speed levels and whatnot. So it's just that like if I would have approached it right from the beginning, that's a thing I'm gonna try in the future, is to look at the game as like to develop it in a way where it can withstand like playing at that maximum speed. Like if you were to ramp up the game to like 1,000 times speed, there would be no clipping, there would be no like breaks or whatever. It would just be able to handle that wear and tear on it. And I think that would probably be a better way to approach my next game. I was fortunate to have really good artists in it. I told 3 different character artists across the project because it took so long, and 2 different background artists. And yeah, I just did the rest except for the music. Um, Okay, Austin. Austin asks, Wave Crash is a positive feedback loop where taking damage makes it more likely to take damage. Dodging space is constrained. Have you noticed that matches can be a bit snowballing? And if so, have you thought about any comeback mechanic? So yeah, the snowballing was kind of intentional. I am a fan of those games. I don't like games where you can lose for a very long time. I used to play League of Legends like a million years ago, back when it was new. Uh, and the feeling of like playing a half-hour match where you're losing for half an hour just felt terrible to me. And so I wanted this game where if someone is way better than you, then yeah, they'll take you down in 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and I think that's acceptable. There is a handicap feature you can put on to give you extra hits before the line moves, and there are also some slight comeback mechanics. There's second wind. If you score a hit when you have like 1 hit left before you're out, you get invincibility for time based on how long you're in that danger zone. So if you manage to hang on for like 10 seconds before they knock you out, you can get a lot of invincibility time to come back into the game. Also, the hype meter, which you activate to go into hype mode, that makes you faster and your attacks faster. That fills up faster the more the worse position you're in. And so I feel like overall, yeah, it does definitely favor the winning player. But the fact that it does start from such an even playing field, and the fact that you can see everything telegraphed up ahead of time, I feel like the trick is just don't get that opening hit on you. I mean, and you'll be fine. Um, Let's see. Corbin asks, I know you have made your way around the event circuit. What other ways have you marketed the game? So yeah, honestly, I didn't do very much marketing. I probably should have done more. But the way I was approaching this was from the perspective where to do adequate marketing would take an actual budget or a publisher. So yeah, I sent it to some people, sent it to like streamers or outlets or whatever. It didn't really get too much coverage besides events and whatnot. There's something I'll probably approach in a future game differently if I was approaching it as a product. I think that's kind of one thing that influenced a lot of the development of this game. Is when I first started it, it was just like a product of just I had an idea of a game I wanted to play, and it didn't exist, so I made that game. Uh, and there weren't really plans on like how will this recoup the investment, or how will this actually be a worthwhile thing to pursue from a business perspective. Because honestly, yeah, it wasn't. But hey, it got me tickets to South by Southwest for the pitch competition, which is equivalent to selling like 500 copies of the game. So that was pretty cool thing to go to. Had reached out to publishers for console ports. I reached out to publishers prior to like way back early on in the development process, like probably 3 years ago at this point. I received a few responses, no positive ones. I've received recently contact from a publisher that I thought could be interesting, but upon looking into them, it seems they're not a super legitimate publisher. They're kind of more just they acquire whatever and turn it out without much support. I was looking through the games, and they publish a lot, and they've had like very few actual successes. So I don't know that it would be worthwhile to necessarily pursue those. But yeah, I'm gonna try again for getting on the Switch. I've been rejected twice so far. And if they do reject a third time, I think the only option would be to find a publisher. I think that'd be the one uh, dividing element between me and other games is that I don't have a company to back me up or an established record of publishing games on consoles. Because yeah, I would everywhere I go and show the game, the number one comment is like, "Hey, I would like this on Switch," and I agree. But so far, Nintendo is not.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. A really, really, really cool game. I encourage everyone to check it out, give it a download, yeah. Well, let's hope some of those publisher talks go pretty well. It would be super cool to see this on Switch,
Yeah.
portable, multiplayer. Ah, perfect.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Hey, thanks very much.
Okay, so next up we have Brian Pierce, Soulfully. So Brian, are you here? Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Brian, give me just a second to get you permissions. Alrighty, you are all set and good to go. You should be able to share your screen
Okay.
and whatnot.
Let me share my screen.
Hey, let me know when you're ready. We'll start the 5 minutes.
All right. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can. Oh, well, we can see your stream. Your camera's still loading.
Oh, cameras. I guess no camera's fine.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All
3,
right.
2, 1, go.
Hello. My name is Brian, and I just released Miska's Cave this January, and I just want to talk about what I would do if I were to work on it again. So, for those who don't know Miska's Cave, here's just a quick trailer of it. If it plays, hopefully it does. There you go. So yeah, I started in September of 2019, and I worked on it for about a year and a half, and I finished it this January. And I took references from games like Katana Zero, and the animation was a little bit inspired by games like Hollow Knight. Also, it was originally supposed to be a mobile game, so I got a few references from games like Jetpack Joyride and a lot of other endless runner games. So that was just the quick trailer of the game. Oh, not mine. There you go. Yeah. I just wanted. So for this presentation, I want to talk about the big mistakes I made and things that took a lot of time to fix. The very first one being me being too ambitious. When I started the game, I had no experience with programming or game design, so I had no idea what my abilities were, and a lot of the art for the game looked good, but really difficult to animate and really difficult to match in term for the enemies. So I had to scale back a lot, and for me to realize that had to scale back took about 1 or 2 months, which was too long, just a big waste of time. The next one was me being like too excited for free assets in the Unity asset store. When I was developing it, the Chronos just became free, and when I looked at these trailers, I was super excited and I was really eager to put in my game, but it turned out to not really match my game, and I spent a lot of time trying to integrate Chronos in my game just for one small feature. And if I were to work on my game again, I just would skip this step entirely and save around 1 or 2 months of development time. Yeah, so one thing Chronos had was it took 1 frame to update the time for each monster, so I had to manually wait 3 frames. And this solution took me a month to find, which is really frustrating. Another problem I had, since I was a beginner, I had no idea how to structure games, and I had a lot of singletons. These were just a few of the singletons I found. But yeah, so I was able to make the game work, but every time I tried to go back to this project, it took a long time to trying to remember all this entire structure of the game before I can start working on it again. It was like a spider web of singletons, and it was a really good learning experience. And my fourth mistake was just having no playtesting. The only playtester I had was my friend, and he didn't really have he didn't have much feedback to it. And once I released the game, a lot of people noted that it was really difficult to learn the game and really difficult to navigate the UI and stuff. So as you can see, the medium time played for the game was 8 minutes, which tells me that a lot of people just quit because quit earlier because it was really difficult to pick up the controls. And but yeah, next time, it also told me that my tutorial was very lackluster as well. I think my tutorial was like a 10-second slideshow of the controls, and that's nowhere near enough from what I needed. So those are the negative parts of my development time. But one thing I am proud of my game is the hit stun effect. So the hit stun effect, basically, what it does is it just makes the attack animations or like the controls feel juicy when you actually do land hit or when you do get hit. So from some of the examples, so in the upper left one and bottom right one, is when you do get hit, these black lines come up and give it a more intense feeling. I also have the slow motion effect, a nice sound effect to match the lines, and I also gave each enemy a damaged, just one frame of a damaged look to make the player feel like they actually hit the enemy instead of just some small color change. Yeah, and here are the results of the game after, I think, 5 months after release. So in total, I got 24,000 downloads, the lifetime unique users. The gross revenue was $0, as I expected, because it's free. And the reviews are overall pretty positive. Oh yeah, one thing I found surprising was the regional downloads. I expected the United States to just come up on top, like at 80%, but it turned out to be only 20.4%. And second was Brazil and China, which really surprised me. And downloads by region, Latin America was number one, with North America being second. So this was really interesting to me.
30 seconds.
Yep, I'm almost done. This was really interesting to me, and I'll definitely use this knowledge for more future games. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, though. Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, 5 minutes, everyone, for Q&A. Go for it.
Okay. So it looks like we do have a first question for you from Steven Zavala, asking, was there a reason why you chose to release the game for free?
So my original motivation to make a game was to make a lot of money, but over the course of like working on it, I decided that one, I don't think it was worth any money, and two, I just wanted to see how much people would download the game, like if it was free.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hey, that's fair.
Just more of a love for the game. And also, for the second question, yes, it does still cost the $100.
Okay. I was curious about that.
What was the process to upload the game to Steam like? It was pretty difficult. I didn't plan anything for Steam, so I had to learn the Steam SDK, and the whole process of uploading the game to Steam. It took me around a month to learn like how to make a leaderboard and how to set the achievements up. So it was definitely an interesting learning experience, and definitely worth the time. You mentioned that you had a web singletons and game director. So next time I would use. I just learned what events were a month ago, and I'm definitely going to take advantage of those. Just and instead of like making a lot of singletons, maybe one singleton, but with a lot of components attached to it. That might work a lot better. Do you have any experience coding CS before? So when I started, I was just a freshman with only 1 month of like coding class experience. So I just knew how to do like see out, hello world, the for loops and stuff, and that's pretty much the extent of my experience before I decided to make a game. So yeah. All right.
Do we have any more questions?
Well, what is next? I'm currently working on a phone game. I'm kind of optimistic about this, mainly for the monetary aspect. I found out that phone games, even the really bad ones, make a lot of money, and I'm making a phone game just um, to try and get that um, money. So the game was really fast paced and it was really difficult to control the player on a small screen. So I decided to just move it to PC. No, my input code was very isolated, so all I had to do was just change one script, and the rest was pretty much the same. Also had to change some resolution stuff, but that was kind of small. It was really easy to change. So yeah, luckily it was pretty easy to change. Right.
Okay, any last questions? About 60 seconds.
Thank you. 5 minutes now. 5 years from the past, definitely. You're welcome.
All right, any final questions? About 10 seconds. We got some people typing. Thank you, Paul. All right, fantastic. Well, Brian, thank you so much. The game looks fantastic. I can't wait for this next game you're working on. If you haven't played Miska's Cave, please give it a download. Very, very, very fun game.
It's also free.
Yes. All right, take care, Brian.
Mhm.
Okay, next up we have Yusuge Hasegawa showing off Plinky Forest 2, which is playable now. Yusuke, you ready?
Yes.
You should have permissions, so.
Activity. Share my screen. Hello.
All right. Hello.
Is it working?
Yep. All right.
All
3,
right.
2, 1, go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yusuke Hasegawa, also known as Juicy Chicken online. Today, I'm here to talk about my newest game, Plinky Forest 2. I don't know much what I can say about it. I just got this trailer made, so I'll show it. It's 30 seconds, so I'll play it twice. Oh. All right, thank you for watching that. If it's Plinky Forest 2, if I do a incognito search on Google, it'll show up. For me, it shows up on the first result, so it should be pretty easy to find. I guess I can link it as well. It's an Android game. And I guess I have it running on an emulator here, so I can show you the gameplay. It's a real-time drop puzzle where you try not to get the stack to reach the top. And you do that by swiping the pieces left and right, trying to make connecting regions of 3 so they go away. And every match you make, you get more points. And it's all about seeing how long you can survive. You can always... I don't know how it's coming through on the video. There's a lot of moving parts to it. I don't know, like in terms of the video encoding. And it gets harder over time. It'll speed up and also start dropping garbage blocks that don't go away. Yeah, and things of that nature. One thing I wanted to focus on was the feel of the game. And I don't know if I did it that well. It's kind of a fun game to just see how far you can go. And there's a combo system by trying to chain these, I guess, connections together. By having something fall because of another explosion, you'll get a combo and it'll increase your score. Yeah, and you get these skulls over time that they don't go away. You have to make a connection next to them, so it gets harder and harder, and the screen fills up, and then it's game over. You gain these crystals over time based on your score.
60 seconds.
Okay, and then there's a leaderboard. This finally started working today. So it reports your score to Google Play, high score. You have a local board here. Oh, and it has ads. That's the main monetization. It's free to play, supported by ads. And should be able to close this without using up all my time. Oh. And then it'll prompt you, do you want to disable ads for this in-app purchase? And with the crystals I just got, you can unlock these little spirits, which changes the little picture that you use as your character.
Very cool. All right.
Thank you.
5 minutes for Q&A, everyone. Go.
See any questions here? Is there any in-game explanation of the skulls going away if you make a connection next? There's not that rule. It's that's something I just figured people would understand through play. There are basic rules explained here, and this pops up if the first time you open the app. Do the individual characters have power-ups or bonuses applied? They don't do anything different. They just look different. It's something to collect. And during the game, they'll be at the bottom reacting to the music and like dancing. If you can hear the music, it's a sound beat detection. and they're reacting to the sound to like make a little hop. Who was the artist for this game? Why did you choose a fairy tale cartoonish style when the first game had a more retro 16? Well, the artist for this game, if I could, was there's a link in the game. Here we go. Sipple. There you go. I found her on Twitter and I commissioned her for the art. So go check her out. Sipple at DeviantArt. Why do I go with a cartoonish style when the first game had a more retro 16-bit style? I think that was just what I could do at the time. It's a little bit closer to my vision, although it's still not quite there in terms of visuals. But this is the art I could find, the artist I could find that would work with me. So that's a big reason I went with this. What is a good timeline estimate for making a phone game project like this? And if you've done this, what is it like to update it? This one took probably 6 months, although most of the time I would say was the design, the game design part, interaction, like the win-loss condition and the interaction, like the actual programming was really quick. I mean, I had like the falling balls and connections working within the weekend, but then from there it was like, okay, well, what do I want the game to be? So that took a long time. Finding and coordinating with the artist took a long time. Yeah, that was a lot of. So yeah, probably 6 months is like a very safe estimate of a project of this. You could probably rush it in like 3 months if you had everyone on board right at the beginning, or if I just did everything myself. But I don't know if I could show. Yeah, if this is my art skills, if that's showing up. So if I did it all myself, that's what it would end up looking like. Let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, forest plinkiness, I don't know. Maybe a 10 is as plinky as I can make it. How do you do the particle effects on it? I mean, it's Unity engine, so it's just a Unity particle effect or particle system with different colors and noise on it. So that's pretty basic there.
All right, 5 seconds. Any last questions gonna slip in here? 4, 3. All right. Yusuke,
All
thank
right,
you so
thank
much. The game looks awesome. It's free. Check the game out. And thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you, Forrest. Thank you.
All right. So next up we have Jackson Bikora, Nameless. And he is doing a game review, it looks like.
Well, yeah, or maybe like some suggestions. We're getting basically some suggestions would be really
All right.
appreciated. Yeah.
Okay, so let me know when you're ready to go. If you have any slides, you can share them. If you've got a webcam, you can turn it on if you want.
I'm just gonna show you guys what we've gotten so far. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can start the timer now. So, this year we founded like a game design club at Dearborn because they didn't have one, but they did have a game design program, so I wanted to create something like that. So it's been a little difficult. Some of the struggles we've had is just like managing everyone, and definitely keeping everyone involved, especially because we're not meeting in person. So, okay, that's definitely been like a big struggle. Just like keeping like retention. We have like eight core people, but we have like 50 people in the Discord that have just joined, and we it's a struggle to keep the to keep people focused and just like have everyone attend the meetings. That's definitely been a struggle. And then the other struggle is just coordinating everything. So we didn't. I don't think anyone knew what they were doing when we started, and like all of us were pretty, except for Soulfully. He's been a big help. Except for our programming lead, he knew what he was doing. But besides that, the rest of us were just like thrown in the water, and we were just trying to figure it out. So after like 4 months, like of just like messing around, we've gotten like this far. We've got a menu now, and that. So I'll show it to you guys. So the game's concept is you have a neat or a video gamer who is never like he's stuck in his room and the power goes out, so he has to go turn the power back on. So this is our menu so far. So his objective is to go downstairs and turn the power back on. So the mechanic around the movement is what we really liked about it. Instead of doing like a normal movement where you move with the arrows, you can only move by shooting the gun, which makes it a little challenging. We definitely need to refine that some more, but it's an interesting concept because I haven't seen like a lot of games where you can only move with the shooting mechanic instead of just with regular keys. But there's definitely a lot of bugs, and there's a lot of bugs still, but we're trying to get to the prototype phase, just like messing around and figuring out what we need to do to get the game into a more playable state. So that's basically it for that. If you guys have some suggestions for us, we'd really appreciate it.
All right. So time for Q&A?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. 2 minutes early. All right. You've got 5 minutes, everyone. Go for it.
No, that would be a pretty good idea. Is there a charge feature, like if you charge a shot, shoots you further? No, there is not. We're planning on having we're planning on having like different guns, so you're not gonna be able to charge it, but you'll have like 3 different guns, and if you change the guns, it'll increase or decrease like how far you go, and it'll have like a different magazine size. This game is gonna need a lot of juice. The visual feedbacks and sounds oomph for the shootings. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It doesn't. We definitely need to have like some particles and like sounds for shooting right now. We have the music done. We have like a good theme song, I'd say, if you guys heard that. But we haven't edited that. Concerning keeping people engaged in any entrepreneurial or startup culture, helping people own parts of the project help them feel a lot more engaged. Yeah, that is pretty good advice. We've definitely we've divided up the teams into different teams, and like have tried to keep people focused on one part of the game. Like we have the enemy, like one person did the UI, one person did the enemies, another person did movement and like gun mechanics. One of the struggles though is just like I don't think anyone on our team has like merged something that big yet. So when we were merging it for this event, we had a lot of difficulties when we were figuring those out. Like the enemy movement wasn't working anymore, so for some reason, like when we merged it, all the scripts got broken, and we were freaking out about that. That's definitely a difficult. I don't know. That was difficult for us. It's probably because we're not like that used to it yet. I guess merging, or like I guess like going back to the Underbite presenter, like we should have like we were merging like pretty big parts, and we should have done more like simplistic. I guess kept it more like like focused more on the prefab part of it, so that when we merged, it wouldn't conflict as much. Is there any sweet lore on why there's only one exit from the player character's room, the window? I guess we were kind of thinking he's hallucinating. He's not really gonna. I don't know. He is not. He doesn't know what's going on. Like the power went out, and he doesn't know whether it's like he's been playing video games so long, and now he's completely hallucinating because he can't tell the difference between what's reality and what's in his mind anymore. So it's like him going through the window is like is the door, but he thinks he's like going into the sky. So that's basically the lore behind the window. I've been making games so long, merge conflicts have me seeing things. Yeah, yeah. Definitely an issue. I don't think we fixed all the merge conflicts yet, because we had another enemy type and we had to get rid of him because he wasn't working right. Any plans for dexterity testing platforms that stretch the physics? Okay, what do you mean by that? What is dexterity testing? I guess I don't know what that is. Yeah. Platforms, platforms that test the user's understanding of the gimmicks. Oh yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
I could have just put these in.
Okay, what are some good ways to merge commits for Unity? That's our question, actually. You guys. Could he be like? Could be like he thinks he's in a video game or has to move on to the next level. He kind of is. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, 20 seconds. Any final questions?
Fight yourself in the future. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for having us out, guys. We appreciate the opportunity.
Wait, did you say you'd rather fight yourself in the future? Would you rather fight future you or past you?
That's me.
Past me? All right. Okay. Hey, thank you so much. Very, very cool game. I'm so happy that Dearborn has a game dev club now. You've had a phenomenal program for so long. Now you can have a phenomenal club. So that's really cool to see.
I hope I feel like it's gonna be like a really good fall once we get back into person. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Okay, take care. All right, next up we have Jason Eaton. Are you there, Jason? Jason of Retro Pros. He's going to be showing off what else some awesome multiplayer netcode. Maybe he'll have a game that we can all play together. Jason, are you there? We can't. You're muted, Jason.
Yeah, he's typed that he is.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
Oh, good. Okay. We're doing a whole different setup today.
All right.
So
You ready to go?
Screen maybe.
There you are.
All right. You set up. I'm in a new house.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah. That just got done. All right.
Okay, you ready to
I give a
go?
link.
You're
Yeah,
still
I'm ready to go.
streaming, Nameless.
Yeah. So we chatting in presenter Q&A here? Is that what's going on?
Yes, we are.
All right. Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right, this is actually the same demo that I did like a month ago, but this time I have a link to my website that I just launched.
Are you showing your slides? Anything? Showing your screen?
I'm not showing anything, no.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, I don't really need to.
Okay.
But if anyone who follows this link and enters room 0, like people who've seen this before know what's going on. What I've done is launched my blog site. So now I have all the source code to this game, to this code on GitHub. And I have an article laying out like how this is all laid out. I just said that twice. Anyway, we got 6 people anymore. They're trickling in.
Oh, we need to post this on the Twitch
Oh,
chat. Yeah, hold on. I'll post it.
We got
We'll
quite a few.
Give it another minute or so.
Okay, I will. Does that count as my minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are two different teams.
No. Uh-oh.
Oh, you go to red to
My
say I'm
computer's starting
ready.
to slow down. I've never actually tested it with a high number.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So many people are joining. It's going crazy. All right, I'm going to say that's all of them.
all right. Let's rock.
See if they can even handle all this. Oh my
So
God.
Wasta to move
Yeah,
and
lost.
click to
Yeah,
shoot.
yeah. Click to
Click to
shoot.
shoot. All right. Oh, they're coming. They're
And
coming.
they're
Oh
not
my
even
God.
really getting the room.
All right. No one's coming from the right. It
Oh
seems
no,
everyone's coming from the
top.
top and left.
It's only the
Like-
top and the left because of the pathfinding map. It's crazy. But we
This is almost
basically
like the
have enough
best.
people.
How are things on top?
Actually working pretty well.
Everything's really good on bottom and left. Oh, we've
Yeah, they
got
just come
someone way on
infinitely,
the bottom.
so you know.
There's someone way on the bottom holding everyone back, like single-handedly. I kind of wish there was a way to know who each person was. Like, you know how fighting games will sometimes let you provide like 3 letters if you want to,
Yeah.
right? Like AY, CR,
Mm-hmm.
JE. Oh, we shouldn't have split up.
Oh well. I mean, I guess it's fun to explore, huh?
Yeah, so you created a new website to show all this stuff off and to do
Yes,
devlog
yes.
posts. We can read about how you made this.
Yes, here, let me just put that down in there. I mean, actually, it's that website that it's on right there. And then the first article is the article about this. There's only one article; it's pretty easy to find, but it has lots of links to references. It has a source code. It has more demos. It has my C++ Unity demo in there, and it has a link to the source code for this whole thing. So someone can see what I did with all this. And then
Whoa.
in the article, I'm kind of interested in moving this all to C++ and just dropping C# and Unity and just kind of using Unreal and C++. It would just end a lot of headaches. Because what I did is actually looked up, what was it? The entity component entity framework dots the physics engine for Unity, and it was just really convoluted on how to get everything to do what I needed to do. So I was just like, it'd be faster just to kind of burn everything from scratch in C++. I already have a lot of code. I just have to update it a little bit to be, what do you call it? Deterministic. Yeah, that's it.
Is
So
this not deterministic?
this one is, as a
Gotcha.
C# is deterministic. It's just I had to jump through lots of hoops to like make it work in Unity, and I was gonna try using the Unity physics engine, but using the Unity entity component framework and the Unity physics engine wasn't an option. I mean, I guess it might be an option. Someone can like spend hours on end trying to get it deterministic and figure out exactly what order things are being done and whether your input's being put in at the right frame and if you've actually copied everything from the state. It just starts to get, you can't really, I wouldn't want to try doing it.
Okay, 5 minutes for Q&A, everyone.
All right. I'm gonna quit now. I do not at the moment. I'm typing, but I could just talk. It didn't occur to me.
Yeah. Say the question when you answer it.
Okay,
Jason.
sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna do that. My brain's confused now. It's getting back to okay. So I did plan. Did you use any networking solution? Yes, I used my personally engineered solution. Is sort of like a universal solution for any game that could be deterministic, that doesn't really pass game state over the network, where you could just relay user input. That way it really works like the good game peace out, only with the addition of being able to be used with games with with a very high unit count. This is basically my monkey game. So what gave you the idea for the game? This is basically my monkey game as ASCII characters. I was actually thinking about doing a game where he just throws you into a bunch of different ASCII games, like a platformer, a game that was like top-down shooter, and just bizarre ones. But I'm running into some bugs, and I want to just drop Unity altogether. The only plans for business using this technology, turning it into revenue, growing your team. I don't have plans for that right now. My only plan is to put it up on the internet and show it to people, and maybe someone would get interested. Are you using any interesting algorithms? Have any new challenges in making the game? Yes, the algorithm I'm using is actually an extension of the good game peace out algorithm. All I'm doing is I'm relaying input. And in my article, I lay out how that's basically how Heat.net did this. Like, this is an old technology. Back when games were all LAN, every game was made as relay input. Everyone's running the same simulation. No game data was sent over the network except for the player input. What happened was on Heat.net, they started making this work over the internet, but because the internet has such high latency, you have a noticeable delay. So Good Game Peace Out did something to get rid of that delay. I used that technology, but at the same time, I added in one piece that made it more efficient, and that made it so I didn't have to copy all the game state. I just copy what's on the screen and fast forward that to whatever frame your key press is actually on. It's kind of interesting. The article goes in pretty in depth. Let's see, when I was finding blocks on the left side, they slowly started to build up and eventually to where all of them line. Yeah, they keep, if he's talking about the monsters, yes, they keep respawning infinitely right now. This was going to be, that particular game was just going to be whoever could survive the longest. Like, I just was going to have infinite guys come in and just have it get harder, harder, harder. Whoever survives the longest basically wins that little piece of that game. What was that game called? The weird physics one on PlayStation 4. You're basically little capsules running around. I forget what the name of that game was.
Is that Gang Beasts?
No, basically you just go through a bunch of mini games, and whoever like wins the Fall Guys. That's it. Yes, it was basically be an ASCII version of Fall Guys with a bunch of different there's a different mini games, and they all use the same physics engine. Like a physics engine could be like a platformer or a side scroller, and I was going to use the same physics engine for anything. And my physics engine is nothing but just like squares. It's all squares. It was working just fine. I just don't understand. Something is wrong with when Unity compiles to what do you call it? WebAssembly. I think it's actually a similar error that like you're running into, Austin, with loading JSON files into it. Somehow gets corrupted. So somehow the state breaks, but it works just fine when I just run it locally, not try to compile it to web framework. Like I had a platformer version of this, but everyone just falls through the floor once it's uploaded to WebAssembly. So yeah, anyone wants to dive into the article and leave some comments on the GitHub, maybe start some discussions about it. I'd be happy to go into it. If someone wants to try making a game with this method, I mean, really what I want to do is I have all kinds of games that I'd love to make that just basically update old school games to like multiplayer, like say like a multiplayer Metroid game, multiplayer, Lunar Leapers game. That's an old school Apple game. A multiplayer tower defense where it's like there's 40 people shooting arrows at guys coming in. So it's not like you're making archers and doing that, but every individual person is just a single archer. It's like something crazy with like 60 people playing.
I feel like you need to find a game that you really enjoy that's being made right now, and try and hop onto the project. Right, be the multiplayer side of that team.
Well, the thing
Do
is,
some
like,
consulting.
yeah, well, I mean, they would need to build it right from the start. Like, they need to have it be deterministic, and they need to be able to do the things that I'm doing with it, which is a challenging bit. Like, I was looking at your stuff, and that would be challenging to update it to this, especially the RTS thing you got going. Yes, everyone always asks this. I always throw it out there. What do you mean by deterministic? Basically, the game state values will always be the same given the same input. Like, if I have 3 plus x equals, or 3 plus 5 or plus x equals something, what it equals will always be the same when x is always the same. It's not like 3 plus x, 3 plus 5 will always be, 8. So it's not like sometimes it'll be like 7.9999999 if you don't do it right, and that's bad.
So on different processors, division like that can actually give different results.
That's actually not exactly true.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so the processor, floating point numbers are deterministic, but the math libraries are implemented differently. That's what it is. So if you have your own math library, like the Spring RTS engine, I think it's called Spring RTS, they have a very specific math library that compiles the same to all processors. And since the floating point standard is deterministic, so it's not like I think that's what it is. That's my understanding. It's very subtle difference.
I feel like that might be a recent thing, because I remember courses telling me that floating point, at least when it was created, was not deterministic, and all the problems this caused.
Yeah. Well, not remove state, but just have it. Well, I mean, that's actually a good point. That is exactly what it's happening. Is your description of deterministic sounds like you want to remove state as much as possible from your game. I mean, this is true. I've removed it completely down to the state. The initial state is just the player input. All other state is derived from the user input. So state isn't being eliminated. It's just that the state it defines what's happening is very small. It's just, and that's why it works so well over the web, because now we're just sending a very small amount of state, which is user input.
All right. Okay,
So I
any
guess that
final
is true.
questions? It's about that time. It's getting kind of late. Any final questions, anyone? All right. I think that about wraps it up. Jason, thank you so much.
All right, so if anyone wants to discuss it more, I got on my website has emails. I checked that email. So
yeah, this new website is super, super cool. I love the star field that hits you right away.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Well,
okay, does anyone, before we wrap up, does anyone have any community announcements? Anything they would like to shout out? Any open roles? I know Steven Zavala is looking for a VTuber, right? Commission, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily like needed, but it's something that I just wanted to play around with for a while. So if anyone has any experience illustrating any live 2D models, I have someone who can do like the rigging and stuff. I just need the base illustration, so just get at me.
That's awesome. I think Ben Robinson also mentioned that they're one of the publishers, one of their games that they're publishing, One Lonely Outpost, is looking for programmers. So that could be a great opportunity as well.
Underbite Games, who gave the fantastic presentation today, is looking for junior developers as well. I don't think it's posted on their website, so you'll have to contact them through the forum on their site.
Yeah, remember also, Corey gave a blanket statement to just shoot him a DM, so feel free. Any other community announcements, Austin?
I don't believe so.
I think we're good then. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. If you have not already followed us over on Twitch, please feel free to jump over and do so. And if you're over on Twitch right now and you have not joined us in the Discord, please feel free to grab that link and jump on over and join us for next month's presentation. Super excited for next month's, even though this one did phenomenal as well. I'm very excited.
All right.
Anything else, Austin?
Nope, I think that's it. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic and very safe and healthy weekend. Bye-bye.